Welcome to the TELUS STORYHIVE On Location, Nanaimo. We're coming to you live from the Nanaimo territories, and a deep bow, deep respect, and deep love to the original caretakers of this land. My name's Jordan Dack. I am a poet, a songwriter, a producer, entrepreneur, and a host of this creative deep dive called Creative or Die. I am being joined by an absolutely one of those people where creativity seems to run through their veins. And oh, look at that. I don't know if you guys can see the steam, but our water's ready. Just in time.
Nice.
Just in time. So I have the incredible opportunity to share a cup of tea with the most amazing. I'm gonna let you dig in and share about yourself. But Sonnet is here with us to talk about the creative process, about poetry, about the bridge of where poetry meets music, about taking apart words and putting them back together in a way that serves the truth and the heart. So Sonnet, for those that don't know all about you, why don't you just share a little bit about exactly what you want to share about?
Sure. Okay, so my name is Sonnet L'Abbé. I am a mixed race, black, they, them, born in Toronto, who is very grateful to be here in Nanaimo territory. I write poems. And so I've been doing that for a number of years now. I teach people how to write poems. I teach English literature at a university, at BIU. And I guess I'm just trying to think of how to introduce myself other than to say that I write poems. And now for the past few years, I've been trying to bring that. My creative practice I'm trying to expand it into writing songs and communicating that way. Awesome.
Now, before we put the resume aside, when I was reading about you, there were lots of articles written about you. You have a lot of presence online. Some people refer to you as Sonnet L'Abbé, and some people refer to you as Dr. Sonnet L'Abbé.
Oh yes, I have a FUD. I have the PhD.
You have the PhD.
Yeah. Yes.
Great. So
in English literature.
Yeah. So you have all the necessary credentials to write a poem. You can be trusted with the pen.
Oh boy, I don't. Some might say the PhD could mess with that, but
yeah. Okay. Well, I'd love to actually talk about that in a minute.
Sure.
But my first question, before I start pouring the tea, is: are poems built or uncovered?
Are poems built or uncovered?
Just sit with that while I get the tea.
I mean, you've asked a word person, and then I'm like, built. What I love about the word built is the heaviness that it has, and because I often have compared words to bricks, and that you have to, not have to, but the fun is being that precise, and that every word that you have has weight, and then you do assemble a little thing. Uncovered, I guess is less intuitive for me. Maybe flow, like something kind of comes through you, and then you just sort of write it down as it comes through, is another way of thinking about it.
So when you say that, it makes me think of this marriage between trust, trusting that something will come through, and sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. But when it does come through, but you're not exactly asking the editor to leave the room, it sounds like. Is that true?
So the building where you're actually being that precise about moving words around, which like a word processor is great for, but I do like to write by hand. I would say is the editing mind. I like to write by hand and just dump, and then bring it to the computer which is where I'm a little bit more Tetris about it.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay, so you do allow yourself to just flow onto the page, and you allow that process to be that process, and then you bring it to the word processor and
Yes.
move the bricks around.
Yes.
And, okay, so flow first,
Flow first.
and then if we're going to use the word build,
Yeah,
renovate.
if you think of the flow as like, if you think of the flow as maybe lava,
yeah,
then it can cool down,
right.
right? And then
Yeah.
it becomes something that you can work with more material-like.
This is perfect because, so I was meaning to ask you this next question closer to the end of our interview, but so reading your poetry, there is a great deal, or I found for myself as a reader, a great deal of emotion and passion and sometimes urgency in your poetry. And is that, if I'm even getting those things correct, is that what comes through in the flow? Is that what the editor and the word processing brick mover has allowed to remain in the poem, or is that something that you built in after the fact?
I would say that the internal pressure is in the flow part. Now that I sing, when I use the word pressure, I don't only mean it in a like anxiety sense, because when you sing, in order to like make a sound, you have to have air pressure, right? So if you think of just a flow of something that you want to say, if you're bored, your voice kind of is like this and you don't say much. So usually when things are coming quickly, or you have the energy to even get it on the page, it's usually something that some part of you wants to say or wants to explore. I find I'm often motivated by having a feeling of just wanting to articulate something, like something has happened, or I've had a thought, or I think I need to work this out. It's a little emotional or mental problem. And so when I sit down and try to even just capture on the page what it is that I'm trying to puzzle out, if it's an emotional puzzle, then it's going to have all kinds of energy in it. And then when I come back to it and read it back to myself, I'm also now, after all of these years, more attuned to what I find has energy in it. So when I'm teaching, I encourage people to write long, write with your hand moving, and then they, through repetition, learn to go through their own work for the parts that have the energy, or how to distill. Like if they've got something that means something to them, but for some reason it feels flat or it feels dead, it could be because they've used a lot of words to say that.
Because
and if they just
thought it was important, or who knows why, I guess.
Who knows why?
Yeah.
But one of the hallmarks, usually, of good writing, whether it's poetry or any other writing, is getting your point across with as few words as possible, or with as few syllables as possible, just to keep the brain, not give the brain so much work to do while it tries to understand your meaning. So if after you generate your stuff, you take all of your heartfelt thoughts or rigorous questions and take all the words out that don't absolutely have to be there, then you often find that the poem finds its own energy.
Yeah. Okay. So first of all, here's your tea out of the tea basket. This is
Look at that little
green
basket.
tea, brown rice. There you go.
Thank you.
No problem. So when you tell, or when you are inviting your students, how's it taste?
This is nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When you're inviting your students to look for those moments, hunt for those moments in their writing that feel alive or potent. How do you instruct them to find those moments? Is it a somatic experience that they're looking for, they're waiting for?
I would say so.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's just over and over again reading other people's work and noticing where you're like, yeah, that feels neat. And then because I teach workshops, you have the work of other students to respond to, and often everyone is responding to a similar prompt. So you get to see a whole bunch of different ways of approaching the same question, learning what you like. And so it's almost like, I think, what I imagine learning to be a wine connoisseur is like. I've never had the opportunity to drink enough wine to be a connoisseur, but I have had some good wines.
Yeah.
And you have to be exposed to good wines before you can have a taste about it, and before you can really discern and have an opinion about what's working.
Yeah, that's right.
So same with poetry.
Okay, so exposure, and I guess just being with it over a period of time too, and you start to notice the nuances and the subtleties of wine and writing. And I'm just noticing your hand movement. Just worried about your mic a little bit. Yes, we're going to try not to hit it. Oh, that's perfect.
Okay.
Problem solved.
All right.
I've spoken to so many creators, through this program, but also I run a House of Owl, which is a creative hub, and I've just started to realize how many creatives are problem solvers, and I didn't really get that at first. But whether it's music or poetry or film, it seems like they are solving a problem. Sometimes that problem is, how can I uncover the truth of this moment or something like that. Do you notice that in your work and with your students?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Even if the problem is often the same problem, I'm not sure how I feel about this. Right?
Yeah.
How do I feel about
Right.
this? It's not, and articulating it maybe doesn't solve it if it's a difficulty inside, like an unresolved thing, but it can give some clarity nonetheless.
Right.
Right?
Yeah. Right. It doesn't end up with a solution like a math equation might.
Right.
But
usually there's a question about humanity, or about, did I understand this event correctly, or why am I feeling X? Why is it always like this? Yeah.
And you're saying that when in class, okay, so when I imagine you in your classes, I imagine as someone who loves experiments and research, and I imagine you've got this group of people that you can almost test on. That sounds totally unethical. No, but what I mean is that those lines that feel alive to one person, do you notice that when it feels alive to the writer, do you notice in the room that it feels alive to many of the other people as well?
Yes.
So you can get that feedback from, is it something, first of all, is it something that they have to say, or when the line is read aloud or read on the screen, can you feel it in the room?
Yes. Yes. And I think that's one of the great things. There are pros and cons to an academic workshop as a place to grow yourself as a writer. But one of the big pros is that somewhat inability of the body to lie, right? So
it's beautiful.
I would say that most work that is okay, most work is okay, right?
Right.
In a workshop, you've got people who are competent at what they do, and some are writing for an assignment, so might not be, like, sometimes they might be writing to a prompt or writing on a day when they're not their best self, they've got other things to do, like, so yeah, most work is fine. And so the work of the people who are giving feedback is to articulate. We start with here's what I think this poem is trying to do, or basically like, here's what I think you're trying to do with this poem. And then there's a work involved, a word work involved in even just describing what the poem is about. Sometimes it's so obvious. Oh, this poem is about when you lost your cat and went and found it and then met somebody. Sometimes people will be like, I genuinely don't know what you're trying to get at here. Right. So that's information. But when something is really working, it usually has clarity. So people are not necessarily stymied about what the poem is about. And then they are surprised or delighted or moved in a way that is about the body. Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So,
and it comes out in people's voices when they're speaking about it. Instead of being like, yeah, I liked this poem. They'll be like, I freaking loved this poem. Right. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, they can't hold themselves back from it. It's they're defenseless against the line or the poem.
Sure.
Sure. There's a Leonard Cohen. There's an interview with Leonard Cohen that I saw a long time ago, and he mentioned, it was at a time, like, I'm a big Leonard Cohen fan, and there's some lines and some songs that I sit there and go, I have no idea what he's talking about right now. And yet I'm still noticing that I'm being moved by it somehow. And then in this interview, he said that sometimes he rewrites his poems so many times that he forgets what he wrote about, what they were initially about, but they still feel true to him.
Sure.
What is that all about? You know, like, not the writer and the reader at times in this circumstance, not knowing exactly what they're writing about, but feeling truth in something.
Well, it's in that kind of experience that your word uncovered feels a little bit more like it. I think I use the word discovery a lot with my students, where you sit down, and that's why keeping the hand moving is sometimes good too, because then you sort of get out of your own head and just let things come. Sometimes accidents can produce wonderful things. And then you look at what you wrote, this poem seems to be wanting to say something else than I thought I wanted to say. And then you just work with it until you have an intuitive sense of, I'm going to leave this like
there
this.
It is.
Here it is. Yeah, I've got a couple poems like that.
Do you know when a poem is done personally in your own work?
It's an intuitive thing. Yeah. I've got a couple same poem that I was thinking of when I was like, I've got a poem like that, where I just was like, okay, all right, it's done. But there's two in my mind. I don't even remember what the stanzas are, but I remember the shape of it, and it used to have 5 stanzas, and in the book it's now 3 stanzas, and every time I think of it, I'm like, I should have left those other 2 stanzas in, because I can feel that it's not quite finished. But it's also a weirder one that I would be put in a difficult situation to try to articulate exactly what's going on with it. Yeah.
There's one rapper singer, who, I guess, all the singers put up their music on the streaming platform, and now, because that is the primary place to release the music, there's this opportunity that you can go back in and re-upload the song, but have changes, right?
Wow.
And so there's some artists out there right now who feel that way about their work, and then they'll actually go, and the next time you listen to the song that you've loved for 5 years, and you listen to every day, all of a sudden the verse is different. Second verse has changed. And that's like, I personally, as an artist, don't know how I feel about it. There's like, on one hand, it's now a living, breathing piece of work. And on the other hand, I could imagine an overthinker, perfectionist like me never leaving it alone,
Yeah.
Do you think that poem that you just referenced, do you think that you would, if you could, if it was living on a platform like that, do you think you would have added those stanzas back in by now?
If it was living on
Like it was only online and it was an editable document.
That's a good question. Hard to say. Hard to say. I have uploaded and then taken down songs. Yeah, and like if this book that it's in were to be reissued, if it were to be reissued and re-edited, then I would see if I could dig back through all of my notes and find the original. But that's probably lost to time. Good question, though.
Yeah, it's an interesting one. Yeah. And I mean, it kind of goes back to just the idea, is there, and you're just the perfect person to ask this question, in my opinion. Is there such thing as a good poem? Like good poetry. I'm not talking about subjectively. I'm talking objectively.
Objectively. I mean, if it's art that somebody in good faith produces to be creative, then that's a net positive, I think, across the board, no matter what. And then as far as my own aesthetic values, like I think we get into philosophical territory about what constitutes, what is art for, and what I consider valuable art that I would return to again and again. There is art that I value more than others. Yeah. And usually it's about this balance of simplicity and complexity that I find fascinating. If they've pulled off something that feels both deep and somehow elegant at the same time, usually.
Because I'm thinking about your classroom with that palpable feeling when someone shares a line that just impacts the space it's in. But I imagine that same line may not impact all spaces the same way. The space is made up of the listeners and the context that they bring into the space, I suppose.
And you're also imagining and thinking about a very specific way to encounter a poem. So a classroom setting is one way. Another way would be at a reading where the room is set up to give the poet a degree of authority, and the audience is not invited to share their opinion or feedback. There's a situation like this where it's mediated by media, and then there's on the page, like you're sitting in your jammies with your tea, looking at a book. And when I started, like, some poets that end up publishing books start with a performance practice and start with a spoken word practice where their first forays were to go out to an open mic and share their work. I started with writing in my little journal and then coming to school and being like, here's my little poem. And so it was very text-based. And what moves someone, if it's spoken with the voice, it's just an entirely a very different medium than the page as far as connecting to the person who's hearing the poem or reading the poem.
I love how diligent you are with the words that you use.
It's a feature.
It's a feature.
Yeah.
Like even the fact that you use the word feature when explaining it, that says it all. And of course it doesn't say it all, it says something. So I would love, if you're up for it, if you have a poem that you could read that myself and anyone who's watching now or watches this video in the future, they could write in the comments which line of your poem gave them goosebumps or had impact on them, and we can test some of this out on the internet audience.
Whew.
How do you feel about that?
Whoa.
We don't have to do it. We could retract the invite.
Why not? Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, do you have a sense of how long you would like this poem to be?
Maybe this one could be on the shorter side.
On the shorter side.
Yeah.
Okay. Just because you asked me that question, I'm now flipping through.
And if there's any instructions that you'd like to give in terms of how best to listen to a poem.
How best to listen to a poem.
How to listen in. See, now in your presence, in your company, I'm thinking about every word that comes out of my mouth. You know, it's going under the microscope.
Yeah.
Which will cause a lot of space and thought. So I'm just going to try to like barrel along here. Yeah, how best to listen to a poem?
I think just settle in, and if there's a way to tune your listening to the frequency of words are amazing. And then you're listening to every word.
Yeah.
And the fact, just be like, wow, we even use language at all to communicate with each other. What even is language? That's kind of the
yeah.
that's kind of the like place to sit in.
I'm there.
What even is language?
Are you there? I'm
Here we
there.
go.
Okay, let's do this.
Detox. I'm happy on apples. A cherry jubilee. Anus, esophagus, citrus scrubbed. I'm sparkling, grapefruit pink. Is my bliss this unchemical? Off the dirty thrill of the sucrose roller coaster, caffeine's race machinery unplugged. I'm enough red meat for me. There's nothing to whine about. Last call for alcohol. Weaned off nicotine, nope to dope. It's a waking dream, not me. Suddenly, I'm solid as a clean joke, stable as a wooden table. The trees laugh like teenagers at my clearly altered state.
Okay, I'm just writing down one of the, wow, that was an awesome poem.
Okay. Cool.
And I think it was the perfect one for this exercise. 'Cause
Okay.
the lines are very distinct, and I mean, right away, even just the two words combined, citrus scrubbed.
Yeah.
Just hit me hard.
Cool.
Also, and I may have not
Sure,
written
yeah,
these down
that's
correctly. Is my bliss this unchemical?
Yeah.
Like even just saying those words, having those words come off of my tongue, I get a somatic experience by saying them.
Nice.
You know, the trees laugh like teenagers. Yes, absolutely.
I don't think I've ever had this experience before of like an in the moment like.
Yeah. What is it like?
It's also it's quite satisfying. Thank you.
Oh my gosh! Just one more time. Okay, citrus scrubbed.
Mm-hmm.
Is my bliss this unchemical?
Yep.
The trees laugh like teenagers. Thank you for that offer.
You're welcome.
Okay, so if you're listening now or you're watching this tomorrow or 10 years into the future, you know, go back if you need to, listen to the poem again, and share in the comments which line had impact on you. And listen from the place that words are amazing. Thanks, Sonnet.
You're welcome.
So, you have been taking your words that you have spent years and years and years working on crafting, and you have been bridging over into the world of music.
Mm-hmm.
Why?
Part of it, I'm now at the point of I don't know. Like, I'll just sit in the mystery of why do we even create? Why am I compelled to spend this much time? Because now I've gotten into piano, and like, which I did when I was young, and now I'm like you can see I've got the jazz piano book. Like, I'm like, okay, and sus, whatever chord is the inversion. Like, I'm into it. Yeah. So that's the first answer, is that I just think I'm returning to a creative impulse that I had when I was young. I felt like music hit me in that way of, like, the same way as, like, whoa, language is amazing. Like, music, hello, frequencies, they're physical, it's just waves, like, oh my God.
Yeah.
And like harmonies, the fact that like, okay, this thing that vibrates at this frequency, and then you get it so that there's another one, and that's a perfect fifth, and we feel a way about that. Like, that is just too much. Like, who programmed that?
Yeah, seriously.
What the heck?
Right? What I'm getting from you is that sometimes people, when they get mathematical or scientific about art, it strips some of the beauty away. It sounds like it adds.
I'm a math nerd.
Yeah.
I would have been. I mean, had I gone in a different direction. I dig it.
That's super cool.
For sure. So as you can see, I kind of light up when I talk about it.
Yeah.
And so I've just tried to follow, like, it's the same thing. I'm trying to follow those impulses. And this book, the last book that I published, this one, is really dense. Like, you can see that they're super dense. And it took a long time to write. And so I think I just moving into a different energy. Plus, if the impulse to write is somewhat of a storytelling impulse, a little bit of that problem-solving impulse, and wanting to connect with people, poetry has a smaller audience and a specific kind of demographic usually, and I could be preaching to the converted for many of the things that I might feel like the world needs, right? But with music, I reach more people, and maybe not as deeply, but every now and then I get to sing the same song that lands in a gallery. I'll sing down at the Nanaimo bar, and there'll be like guys there who are back from the oil patch, sitting there, and they'll be like, "Oh, that was a song about what?" And and I just feel like my work gets to move through more spaces. That way.
Yeah. This says a lot about who you are as an artist. Is the balance work that you're playing between the craft and accessibility, and how important accessibility is. If the part of the reason you're doing all of this is to make some sort of impact. And so, do you ever then open one of your poetry books that you've written and turn that into a song, or then would a song be a brand new thing that you're writing with accessibility in mind, or maybe it just flows in a different way?
The songs have come in both the ways of just a new song, and then I have some songs that come from poems that already existed as poems.
Okay. Yeah. And when you are making art that is intended to be more accessible, can you pinpoint what you need to leave behind?
The trust that somebody can reread what I wrote, right? Like, there are a lot of things in my books that my delight is like, "Ooh, look what I did there," right? But I think, oh, somebody might not get that on the first reading.
Right, and will they read it again?
If they read it again, will they be rewarded, right? And so, I mean, I guess you want to write a song that ideally somebody might want to listen to over and over again. So maybe now that I start talking about it, maybe that's not it. I mean, there's a certain pose, like the role that a university professor or poet inhabits in the world is a certain kind of stance that I don't necessarily think is helpful on a stage that's like the blues, say, down at the Queen's or at the Nanaimo bar. Like I don't bring that part up so much. Yeah.
You don't introduce yourself as Dr.
I do not.
No. No. Yeah. All right. And then do you have like with that analytical mind that is obviously a part of who you are, is there this perfect Sonnet the poet musician version that you imagine into the future that you're growing into, or are you just following the magic and we'll see where we go?
So one musician that I've gone down to Victoria to take some master classes with is John Lee.
Yeah.
And he was quite encouraging of us who are taking these classes to pick people that you wanted to aim towards, because eventually you'll still sound like yourself. You can never sound exactly like them. And I think as a poet, when I was coming up as a poet, I did have that period of trying to imitate.
Yeah.
So yeah, I have some folks that when I imagine what I'm headed towards, that I think it's something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you want names?
I'd love names. Yeah.
Okay, so like something like Rhiannon Giddens.
Yeah.
Something like Nina Simone.
Sure.
I mean, when I first started, I was like something like Joni Mitchell, but no, like more blacker than that.
Yeah, blacker than that. Yeah, totally. Yeah.
Yeah, some stuff by Solange. I mean, there's hip hop artists that I like. Tierra Whack, I like.
Do you have any songs that, like, I did see your guitar around here. Is there anything that you'd want to play right now for us? Or anything you're working on? It doesn't even need to be a finished piece.
Oh my God. Well, I can play
Let's
you.
do it.
I can play you something. Sure. Now, I asked you about the tone of this show because my more activist, I think sometimes some of my more activist songs that I think are more activist are not suitable for, like and I love them because I'm able to come to the edge of, like it's a porn addiction song that I'm thinking about. Like I love that song. It's a blues song. It's called Wank Widow Blues. I will not play you Wank Widow Blues.
No.
Okay.
That's, but you can probably hear Wank Widow Blues if you see Sonnet live.
You could.
Yeah. You could.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's the first song that I started getting requests for. So this one is a little bit more, but I'll play you one that's a little bit more, I'm proud of it in a very different way. So folks at the Nanaimo Art Gallery did a project a few years ago called Hali Atastalo, which was by the river, I think is the translation from Halkamina, and brought in a bunch of artists to do projects around the Millstone River that's here. And Nancy Turner, who's an ethnobotanist who used to work at University of Victoria and who collected all kinds of wisdom from Indigenous women, talked with an elder named Geraldine Manson, who's a Nanaimo elder here in town, whose Halkamina name is Satasia. And they did a walk along the river looking at native species and speaking. And I was there to there to document it. So this song comes from that. And if you can stop me if it gets to, I can stop if it's too long.
It won't be.
Elise asks the elders about invasive species. She's wondering what we should do. Elise asks the elders about invasive species. She's wondering what we should do. What should we do about the Scotch broom that yellows the meadows and roadsides? How should we treat him? English holly and English ivy with its ever-spreading vines. Unless you uproot them, they'll choke the ecosystem, the ethnobotanist replies. Unless you uproot them, they'll choke the ecosystem, the ethnobotanist replies. What should we do about the Scotch broom that yellows the meadows and hydro corridors? How should we treat Himalayan blackberry that trades its sweet fruit for control of countryside? You can't get rid of all of it, says Cetacea. You can't just blitz the land. You can't just pull out everything without hurting the other plants. You've got to go in by hand. I'm going to stop there. I condensed it, but that's part of it.
Oh, you need not. I could listen to that for a lot longer.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Oh, I love how there's like this deep, syrupy, wise thing that happens in there, and then you hit that D minor and it lightens all up. And
a musician.
yeah, when you hit and you often do it when you say like yellow or out of the whole thing just lightens up for a second and it just transforms the space. It's beautiful.
Thank you.
It's beautiful. It's like beauty, and you're obviously documenting a moment too, a conversation. That's great.
Cool.
Hopefully you'll share another one at some point.
There's more.
Okay,
Yeah.
There's lots more.
Yeah.
So you spoke a bit about your activist side, and maybe that is mischaracterized. Maybe it's not a side, but do you find that you need to give yourself space? Do you need to step into an observer place when the world and our communities can feel very overwhelming? Do you need to step out of it to write about it, or do you write from within it? Does that make sense? Can you be in the pain and suffering? Is that where you go to write, or do you feel it and then come out to write about it?
I just intuitively, I think in it. I think that I don't think that there is an outside, right? I think that there's maybe hot and cold. I think that there's like regulated and unregulated.
Right.
right?
Yeah.
And
That's well said.
and I can write from an unregulated place.
Mm-hmm.
But I do think part of the responsibility, I guess, of an artist to their community and within their community is to look at the work from from a regulated place, from a calm place, before deciding to put it out there.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so there is that moment that a poet might want to take, or a songwriter might want to take, to just step back and look at what you've written.
Yeah.
And even though maybe you wrote it from an unregulated place, to look at it from a regulated place before release.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I mean, it depends on what your aim is with your with your work. And I think of the political situations, but especially south of the border, and like the way that some artists work, like musicians' work, is getting used. Right. And I think, well, who would be like, what would it mean to be a musician who wanted their work to be used in this way, to be picked up by certain political figures? Like that is a way of wanting their work to travel that is foreign to me.
Right.
So I don't.
It's a different distribution mechanism there. It's
people
and
create
writing
for
for
different
it.
reasons.
Yeah. That is very interesting. So if that is do you see that as a part of you that will always be present in your music and your writing, is the activist part?
Well, I mean, I didn't ever really set out. Now that I've organized a couple marches, I can't really say this with the same face that I used to, but I didn't set out to be activist.
Right.
I just live in this body and have had a bunch of experiences, and people like to belong, and people like to feel as though they're connected to other people. And if for whatever reason, somehow just stepping out of your house in the body that you're in, one finds oneself in all kinds of situations of being othered, then I'm still writing from the personal. But in order to understand it, like that problem-solving piece, then to understand like what I brought to whatever situation that might have been difficult, or to even try to express myself to people that I care about, understanding bigger movements, the social context, the political context, helps me understand what things that happen to me, and helps me to aim my my utterance in the direction that it needs to, that feels as though it needs to go.
Yeah. Of course.
So I'm activist in the sense that people should have peace, and children should not be bombed, and like rape culture sucks, like.
Yeah. But you're choosing to speak about it, which is different, not better or worse, but different than just being in it and feeling it. You have found a voice around it, and maybe it's because, as you said, you were writing before you decided to be an activist, but the personal is political, and so I'm putting words in your mouth here, so just take them out of your mouth. But maybe you saw what you had at your fingertips, which was a pen and paper, students, a guitar, and so this is the way that you were able to express that, when others maybe hadn't picked up a pen, or maybe didn't express it in other ways as well. I guess there's so many ways to express. But if you think forward to that Nina Simone version of Sonnet, or but very sonnet version of Nina Simone, in the future, do you already know which lessons you will still need to learn to become that artist that you imagine in the future? Do you already know them but haven't learned them?
Know what lessons I need to learn before I get there?
Yeah.
Community would be a huge part of it, right? With musicianship, it's all about playing with people.
Yeah.
And so how I show up, who I am in the music communities that I move in, is still kind of junior, like still like I'm being supported by, I'm learning from people, and so not in the same role to be like mentoring as I am in a literary space.
Yeah, that's right.
So I just find myself aiming over and over again to come into contact and work with the people who will teach me the language as they speak it. And the more I work with other people, the better I will become at speaking the language of music. And that's not a part that you can engineer.
Right.
Yeah. So I just try to move into different spaces. Next year, academic year, I have a teaching leave. So I'm not sure where I will be yet. I would like to study music with someone, or someone's, and so I'm looking at various options. But Toronto, I'll spend some time in Toronto. I'll spend some time in Montreal. I'll spend some time in New York.
Those are good
for
places
for
to
that,
go.
just to be around, and to be able to hear and speak to folks that are working in a way that that I can learn from. Yeah.
Yeah, and at a depth, who have been in there for so long that they eat and breathe it, and yeah, very cool. I'm excited for you.
Thank you.
Yeah. So this is a kind of a strange question, and we kind of touched on it, but so there is the personal that you write about, or rather, let's reframe it. Is there a difference between writing something honest and writing something true?
Whoa, okay. Is there a difference between writing something honest and writing something true?
Another way, if you,
Go ahead.
would be, can you write something that you maybe don't have personal context for, so personal honesty, but is still true and valuable to the world or to the reader?
Are you asking about fiction? Like, can you make stuff up and have it still be true?
Let's go with that.
Yeah, I think if the reader knows that it's fiction, or could reasonably tell that it's fiction, what we could be totally honest about our feelings, and we could be totally wrong. Or we could express something, like if, I don't know, I'm thinking about speech that could be characterized as hate speech, or speech that mischaracterizes an entire group of people. Like, I could feel that with every cell of my body, and still not be honest when I say X group of people, Y, right? And it's still not true.
Yeah, and I think I'm taking a chance at bringing this full circle to where at the beginning of this conversation we talked about those lines that feel, impact somatically, and I'm just wondering in this moment on live stream whether those moments or there's something personally honest about that line, and that's part of the reason that they feel or that they offer impact. Can you write an intellectual truth that you haven't experienced yourself and have an impact like that on another human being? And I have no idea. I'm just throwing it out.
I don't know. I don't know that I can. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, neither do I.
Yeah, like, I'm not sure that there is intellectual without the somatic, in terms of creativity, in terms of art. Like, now we're all going to be exposed for the rest of our lives to text created by non-bodies, right? And perhaps collectively we're all like, okay, if it's a manual for my cell phone, I don't care that a body didn't write this.
Sure.
But when it comes to art, I don't know that it's possible to have a purely intellectual if it comes from a body.
I mean, that's a perfect example. The AI example is perfect. If you read a poem and you know that it's written by a computer, can you be moved by it in the same way that if a human had written it, knowing that there's human experience behind it?
Good question. I mean, I don't bring AI into the classroom now after doing it once, thinking, okay, let's engage with AI and work in this. I created some prompts, and my students were like, we don't want to feed this at all. I was like, okay.
Hard line.
Okay, all right. But we did look at, we looked at a poem written by an AI. We looked at some flarf poetry, for those of you who know. If you know, you know. and then a poem by Manahil Bandukwala in which she writes in the voice of an AI, and like the title is like an AI says whatever, and told them one of these poems was written by an AI,
Cool.
which one, and surprisingly, like quite a few people picked the, well, no, people didn't always know, but once they did know, and the majority of people did pick the AI one, they were just like, we struggled to find words to describe why we knew, and the word soulless was the one that was reached for. It's just so fascinating in a way to be like, wow, we're all sitting here in a university environment trying to find a word for what this does for us.
Yeah.
And it's a soullessness. Okay.
Yeah. That's fascinating. And we could talk for another hour just about that. And I'd actually really welcome that conversation at some point. We only have a few more minutes. I really was looking forward to a portion of this conversation being actually active creation. And I wonder if you'd be so brave as to invite us into your creative process and maybe work on something and let us know how it goes, even just for a few minutes.
Okay. All right.
Yeah?
So, sure. I have a thing that I've, like a commission with Mashed Poetics, a series in Vancouver. And what they do is they take an album and they take all the songs off that album and they assign each song from the album to a poet. And then the poet writes something in response to that song. And then we all get together and read our poems and play the music. And it's a fun evening. So my song is Tegan and Sarah's Where Does the Good Go? Where do you go with your broken heart in tow? What do you do with the leftover you? And how do you know when to let go? Where does the good go? Where does the good go? Look me in the eye and tell me you don't find me attractive. Look me in the heart and tell me you won't go. Look me in the eye and promise no love is like our love. Look me in the heart and unbreak broken. It won't happen. All right.
So these are the lyrics.
These are the lyrics to the Tegan and Sarah song. So,
and your
do you
job
mind?
is
I'm gonna
to,
just.
yeah, no, this
oh,
is for now. It's tea stained.
Can I use that?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. So I'm gonna just look me in the heart is kind of interesting.
And your job is to write lines inspired by this.
It's to write a poem or a song inspired by this. Yeah. So I'm writing down "Look me in the heart," and I'll just do what I do with my students for a second, which is, here's the prompt: free write. So I'm gonna stop saying something for just a second.
I can't even imagine the amount of pressure Sonnet is feeling right now. Live streamed, writing, putting the creative process on display in the moment, and also having the host talk at the same time as he's trying to write.
Okay. So, I mean, I read this out, so even in my body, I got a rhythm from this. So this is free writing, y'all.
It's free writing. It just have in the moment
free
here,
writing.
No edits.
In the classroom, it's like you can share, you can not share. You don't have to share. I'm not going to not share. I'll share.
That's right. We are brave on this podcast.
But it's raw writing. Okay, look me in the heart. Look me in the spleen. In the appendix, look me in the valves and secretions. Look me in the places that defy a microscope. I could be touched there. I could be.
Free write? That's incredible. It happened here. Let's cover the logo here. There you go. Thank you, Sonnet.
You're welcome.
For doing that. That's incredible. Thank you for being that brave. That's the beauty of artists. You have to be brave. Artists are used to being brave. Great. Okay, well, we're at the end of our chat. Thank you so much for being a part of this.
Thank you for having me. It's been fun.
Is there any events or anything you want to let people know about before we sign off here? Any websites you want to bring their attention to?
Goodness, are there any events? No, you can find me on Instagram. I let people know what's going on with me there. It's just at Sonnet L'Abbé on Instagram. Sure.
Great. Yeah, and big thank you to STORYHIVE On Location in Nanaimo here, and thank you to House of Owl for all the gear, all the support of the community, and that's houseofowl.com, HAUS of owl.com.
Where's House of Owl? Where does
in Victoria.
Okay.
Yeah. Now, maybe I'm being a little greedy here, but maybe just to end it, instead of ending on the sign-off, you could read one more poem, and then we'll cut the live stream after that.
Sure. Zebras. Do zebras have solid parents? A black stallion? A white mare? Are they black horses with white stripes? Or white horses with black bars? If you see them in cages at just the right angle, will they seem a uniform color, lose their prison suits? Does chocolate milk come from brown cows? My sister and I were young and thought along those lines.
Thank you, Sonnet.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me.
Okay, I'm going to shut the live stream off here, friends. There we go, and